Should this be a holiday? 866-801-8255, a federal holiday. Should it be a federal holiday? Should this be something that the nation commemorates? Because should it be a celebration? Somebody on Twitter was like, do you say happy Holocaust Remembrance Day? Is this a happy day? I mean, for Black folk, is this a Black folk holiday? There's so much here to unpack. So I brought the unpacker. He is wearing his Juneteenth colors, I think. I feel like he got on a Juneteenth shirt that he got from someplace from the 80s. I don't know. What is he wearing? He's showing all of his pectoral muscles and everything. He is here. He is amazing. I'm so happy that he's joining us. The author of Don't Cry for Me, The Sacred Place, Perfect Peace, 12 Gates to the City, Black on Black, which is the latest one. They Tell Me of a Home, Listen to the Lambs, The Coming, The Coming, The Coming, the one and only Dr. Daniel Black. Hi.
What's going on? What's going on? How are you? How are you? Glad to be
Yes.
here.
Good to see you. Hi.
It is my pleasure. It is my honor. And yes, today commemorates a great thing, which of course I'm sure we'll talk about. Whether it should be a federal holiday or not, I'm going to hold my comment until you tell me.
What? Listen. We have conversations on this show. Some of the conversations are uncomfortable for me. Some of the conversations are uncomfortable for the people listening.
That's good.
We should be able to sit in our discomfort and work things out in our spirit. Right. Now, I don't have the right answers. For me, I am struggling with a federal holiday commemorating the last enslaved person on this country, on this soil, to put down that hoe. Now, in the wake of that, sharecropping, in the wake of that same state right now is problematic. In the wake of that, Louisiana has imprisonment. So they did the butt clause with prison, which is why Black people are disproportionately in prison, incarcerated. Right. So I struggle with celebrating the end of slavery when so many are still enslaved in so many different ways, indoctrination being one of the ways in which we're enslaved. So I struggle with white folk. Let me just be 100% having a day off. I struggle with that in this country. I struggle with it. At the same time, Dr. Greg Carr on Saturday brought us to the feet of Mother Opal Lee, who spent the majority of her life, and she's 96, fighting for this to be a holiday. So in honor of her, if that's the only reason, I'm like, okay, we can make space.
Yeah, see, my thing is, I think we need something federal, but I don't think it should be a holiday. I think this should be a federal day of mourning.
Yes.
See, that's what I think. And it should be a federal day of mourning, not because slavery ended, but because it took white folks 250 years to be forced to decide that they could not hold us enslaved again. I think white folks should be in absolute mourning, that it took them so long to believe that Black folks ought to be free. And the truth of the matter is this. In Galveston, Texas, in 1865, people had heard that Lincoln had signed the Emancipation Proclamation. The problem is that Texas would not enforce it.
So let's take folk back, because I feel like we have an empathy problem in this world.
That's right.
We're unable to clothe ourselves in other people's journeys and other people's suffering and other people's. So I'm going to go back to 1865 on this day, June 19th. Soldiers wrote. Now, we've been here for a couple of years now. No, so it was 1867. Was it 1865? Is 1867?
1865. That's right.
Okay. So 2 years we've been hearing, because, this was better than the internet back then, the word of mouth.
That's right.
So we free? Yeah. But if we step off this plantation, Master's gonna kill us.
That's right.
If we step off this plantation, they're going the patty rollers, because So, I mean, it feels like certain neighborhoods, where the police kill with impunity. We're gonna talk about a 16-year-old kid that was robbing somebody. Yeah, he was doing something bad. He's dead now. Got shot in the stomach. In Aurora, the same place where the great Elijah McClain, that beautiful soul, who said he just, he's different. I'm just trying to go home. He played the violin for Cats. Like, he got brutalized and is dead now. Like, I feel like it's the same kind of that energy, right? So you could walk off if you dared, but there are consequences, right?
That's right. That's right. If you dare. And that's part of the problem. The problem here is we in America, we don't know how to do anything collectively except celebrate. We don't know how to mourn together. We don't know how to weep together. We don't know how to cry together. We don't know how to sit and tell the truth together. The only thing we know how to do together is celebrate. And this is why I really feel for that great elder Opal Lee, because she was actually trying to teach us that, yes, as a nation, we should mark that something significant happened, a change happened in this country. And it did. It absolutely, positively did. But the problem is that we are too juvenile as a nation to do anything but party.
Mm-hmm.
We should gather on a day like today and say to Black folks, we are sorry. To say to Black folks, I am absolutely sorry that as a nation, and quite frankly, we should do something similar in terms of Native Americans. All these folks literally destroyed. But the notion of having a barbecue on the day that Native Americans were massacred, something seems off about that kind of celebration.
Right. Oh, is it our immaturity? Or is it our inhumanity? Is it our immaturity, or is our inhumanity? Because I think little kids understand mourning. There's a lot of little kids that aren't celebrating the death of a bird or a goldfish. Like, they understand solemnness and holding space for things that are serious, Right. So I think it's the inhumanity that this country was built upon that makes it difficult for us to do anything but celebrate and not really understand truth or sitting with one another to work things out.
Part of this ultimately, part of this is an economic issue. And the reason this is an economic issue is because if America were to do anything other than celebrate, if we were to mourn, what's going to immediately come up if we were to mourn collectively is, what do you owe? And America is trying its best to avoid the question of what it owes Black people.
Well, that's unavoidable.
It is unavoidable. It's unavoidable to me. That question is unavoidable. But as long as we keep partying and celebrating, right, we don't bring folks to task in terms of what they owe. And the other thing that's extremely important about this is most people don't understand what happened between 1865 and about 1870. The first real celebrations, if you will, of Juneteenth were not about partying. The real celebrations of Juneteenth were one thing that I'm hearing almost nobody talk about, and that is what most Black folks did in Texas and around the rest of the country in those years is they went and found other family members that white slave captors had sold away. There's a great book called Help Me Find My People. Help me to find my people. That's what Black people did. Black people all over the South walked trying to find where their children, where their mother, where their uncles, where their cousins had been sold away to. We spent those years trying to repair and put the Black family back together again. And that was the birth of a magical thing called the Black Family Reunion. That's what Juneteenth is really about. The Black family coming together and saying what white people tried their best to dismantle, right? What we did and what our job is to do is to make sure that we don't ever let the Black family be dismantled and broken again.
Well, as we sit here, 866-801-8255, Dr. Daniel Black is here. I'm grateful that to get to know you. Yes, ma'am. I love you coming in because I'm getting to know myself through knowing you. Yes, as well. Ma'am. I'm stretching, and yes, I appreciate ma'am. That. Yes, this being a federal holiday makes it so I imagine, I was getting prepared today, that there are people making jokes right now, that the melanemic people, there's some racist people really, probably having different kinds of parties today. I was thinking about the picnic which, the allegory goes, that was the time of lynchings, right? The picnic, go pick a N-word.
Right.
And I mean, but the pictures in Without Sanctuary and other documentation from the postcards on would tell you that that was a festive time where you would gather up all your hillbilly horde to go out and just find some random Black person and destroy their entire lives, whether you burn them, take their body parts off, mostly the penis. I don't know what the obsession is with taking off people's penises and testes and things, but yes, and then burn them alive and things like that, shoot them and cut them and carve them up. And, there's a stunning picture of a man who had all of those things done to him, and his look into the camera wasn't of pain, which you had to know he was in, because if you scan his body, I had that Without Sanctuary book, which now costs like $400. Like, you can't really find it. But when I study it and I pick it up from time to time, because not that I need the reminder, but I do need to be back in that place from time to time. You can see where they took gouges out of his legs, and
Absolutely.
You can see the brutality, the tornness of his body. And he's just looking into that camera, motionless and what seemingly emotionless.
Right.
And I'm thinking, he knows he's going to die. And there's hundreds of folk smiling with glee standing around him. And I think about Juneteenth, and that's my entry point for it, right? Like the carnage that came after.
And see, that's part of the issue. They just, technically speaking, they just made lynching illegal last year, right? And I understand the notion of cutting off the penises. I get that. I understand, and pickling them in a jar. I get that, because
wait, you said pickling?
It's called the pickled penis. Absolutely. They pickled it like they would a pickle, like a
cucumber.
Yes. There are tons of them. They're all in museums all over.
Well, you said there are tons of them.
Absolutely.
Dr. Black. So folk were collecting Black men's penises and putting them in jars of pickling. This is crazy.
Absolutely. You can go online and Google it and see them, and they're in museums all over the South. And there is a reason, because that penis stood as the sign of white supremacy's imagined sexual pleasure. It's like porn. All you need is the image.
Wow.
Listen, it's the notion of the way in which the Black body stands as the quintessential sign of white sexual pleasure, right? It's the literal pleasure principle. And they will pickle them, right, in order to preserve them as long as they could, because the penis, really, literally and metaphorically, that was really the part of the Black man that they needed and wanted most. It was the part of him that they valued most. It was the part of him that for them is the reason they came all the way to Africa and got us in the first place. Women were imagining, white men were imagining the sexual ecstasy that the Black male body could elicit.
Wow. All right. Dr. Black is putting a new spin on it. Today is Juneteenth. I checked out a couple of years ago when they made it a federal holiday. I was like, I'm not celebrating. This is a time of mourning, something. And it also is a time to reflect on where we are as a nation, where we need to be as a nation. When I say we, I mean all people who call themselves Americans, which I am. And it's also the complicated relationship Black people in particular have. It, to me, exposes the hypocrisy of America to have a Juneteenth, but no one's really even talking about that either. Like that we could have a Juneteenth federal holiday, but we're not having a conversation about reparations. Make that make sense, government. Make that make sense.
Because we keep making the victim the point instead of the perpetuator accountable. We keep trying to say, and we do it with everything in America. It's like having a rapist day. How much sense does that make? That's sick. It's absolutely sick. And it's sick because
we do have President's Day. Well, stop. Okay. So
which in many instances would be the same.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we kind of do have that. We just call it something else. This is a weird place. And to have this conversation, honestly, that was a joke out of discomfort for the truth that is being spoken today. So we often jest in truth because it's sometimes so ridiculous that we even have to have these conversations and argue with people. That's the thing for me. I'm reading this book, and let me shout out CBS Sunday Morning. That's my Sunday ritual. Get up, make me a little breakfast. I sit there and watch. Good morning, I'm Jane Pauley.
Yeah,
and I'm like, I'm in. When she's not there, I'm like, it's gonna be trash. But this past couple of weeks has been amazing. So I got a vanilla story. Ended up having a whole conversation with Carla Hall about vanilla because there was this one little piece in that vanilla thing about Africans. Actually, I was like, wait, we did vanilla? Hold up. And it's brown. So then, I had to have a whole conversation, but they sneak stuff in by accident. Things that we need to tease out. So last week it was an author, you would appreciate this, who got rejected 95 times.
Wow.
She wrote a book. Nobody wanted to publish it. She's in her 60s. She's 66, I think she is. And this last book, she was like, I'm going to keep going. Somebody said yes. It's called Lessons in Chemistry. And as she was talking about it, I was like, that sounds interesting. I'm going to download it. So I downloaded it and I've been listening to it. And, for me as a reader, and I don't know if anybody else is experiencing this, but I am just, first of all, it is so well done. But I'm learning about a period of time that I didn't live through as a woman. I'm really connecting with Elizabeth Zott, I think that's her name. And there's this one thing, I'm not giving away too much. She has a boss that is trying to, and the author is talking inside the head of the dog, inside the head, so you get all these perspectives. So the boss wants to seduce this woman who's a chemist. She's a scientist because, nobody's supposed to be here. No woman's supposed to be doing science. Like, go get married somewhere and sit your ass down. Right. But she is determined that she's a scientist. This is what she is. She was like, it is what I am. So her boss is trying to get her he says, I'm going to destroy her self-esteem so he could seduce her, so he could take her away from the boyfriend that she has, right? So, and he's married. So it's crazy in his mind. He says this usually works. If you just take her self-esteem away, then I can control the rest of her. And I was thinking about it in terms of being Black. So the goal is on the job to make you think that you're not smart, to make you think in the classroom. You're just here because you're in a program. You got in because of affirmative action. We're going to talk about affirmative action today. So you doubt yourself. You doubt your intellect. You doubt your creativity. You doubt your talent, your gifts. And once you do that, they have you. And then you just give them everything. And then they take credit. And then you just feel diminished. And then you allow people to do anything. And people will relate to this if you're in a relationship with somebody that wants to keep you fat. So nobody else will keep telling you you're dumb, you're lazy, you're fat, you're ugly like Mr. in Color Purple. That's a tactic that is used in every facet of life to keep you from. So I was thinking about, I'm loving this book, but if I'm not a reader, how do I even engage with this stuff that broadens our perspective? That's another conversation. But I was just, as somebody that writes and reads, to see these themes play out, which is why art is so important, which is why reading is so important, so that we can get in touch with this stuff so we can change it. I don't know, but let's stick with the destroying of the self-esteem. And before we get into the reading and writing, I know it's 3 hours I got with you, and I'd be trying to get in 12 hours of conversation in 3 hours. But, the notion that a lot of Black people have an inferiority complex because 400 years of telling you you're nothing, you're dirt, you're this, you're Black, you're ugly, you're stupid, you're this. And then it becomes self-fulfilling. We do it to each other. The dozens, we play that. Right. Your mama's so Black, your mama's so ugly, you're ugly. Right. And then before you know it, we are acting out the very thing, and they have to do nothing anymore.
It's exactly right. And there are new ways that it gets manifested now, right? And oh God, Lord, Karen, I'm trying. I tried to give the first. I try to be calm, but I'm not gonna be able to do it today. One of the things that's so profound is the new ways in which this gets manifested. The ways in which Black value, Black self-worth, Black self-esteem gets undermined and undergirded and undercut, right, in this society, while it looks like people are exalting you. For example, we keep sending Black kids to Black colleges And we keep asking them and celebrating them when they leave there with jobs. Oh, God. See, the problem with that is this. You don't send a child to college and then ask them what kind of job they're going to get when they graduate. The point of college is that you innovate a job. You don't go looking for one. If you've gone to college, you're supposed to make one. You're supposed to create if you can, or you're supposed to certainly choose one that you don't have to have. See, if you go and then be labor for someone else, that's the same thing other folks do who never went. But we ask black kids that. We don't go though to Stanford and ask them, are they going to go to work for black people? We don't ask kids at Stanford that. We don't wonder whether or not Johnson & Johnson is going to hire these white kids at Stanford. We don't ask them that. We look for their innovation. We wonder what new thing are they going to create that's going to be the next billion-dollar corporation. But see, that's a self-esteem thing. And if black kids are not careful, black kids are smiling and grinning, right? When someone offers them $125,000, oh my God, I really, really did it, didn't I? No. You really got caught up in the notion of the ways in which they have circumscribed your inferiority into their superiority.